Donald Trump and Putin will soon be face to face after a topsy-turvy ride of negotiations and the long-lasting war. In what is being deemed as the ICE summit in Alaska, a lot could change because the stakes are high, not just for Russia and Ukraine, but also India. With an unpredictable Trump on one end of the table and a stubborn Putin on the other, the talks could go either ways, keeping the world on its toes. Here are a few possible scenarios of what might pan out in the Alaska talks. First scenario, phased truce and land swap. One possible outcome is an agreement on the phased truce, potentially involving a land swap in Ukraine. This could include the establishment of internationally monitored buffer zones. But several questions arise. Who would create these zones? Who would monitor them? And who would the terms be adhered to? Above all, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has consistently resisted conceding any territory to Russia, a stance supported by the EU and NATO, who emphasize that Ukraine has been fighting to defend its land for the past 3.5 years. So any agreement involving territorial concessions would face strong opposition, especially since Zelensky will sit this one out. Remember what had happened when Zelensky had voiced his dissent to Trump in the Oval Office?
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in no
dictating.
position. You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now.
Second scenario, temporary ceasefire. Another possibility is a temporary freeze in hostilities while a broader deal is negotiated, essentially a cessation of active conflict. This could involve prisoner swaps, which would be a tangible step forward. However, the challenge here is the perception that a ceasefire might reward Russia's aggression or favor Russia, as it would allow them to pause without making concessions to Ukraine. So this could be seen as a strategic advantage for Russia rather than a balanced outcome. Third scenario, sanctions relief for de-escalation. A third potential outcome could involve an offer from President Donald Trump to provide sanctions relief in exchange for de-escalation. However, this approach may have limited impact. The economic relations between the US and Russia is not substantial enough for sanctions relief to compel Putin to act upon this scenario. Let's not forget that Russia's war machine had resiliently been on the front for the past 3.5 years, despite multiple layers of secondary and tertiary sanctions. Fourth scenario, complete failure of talks. The final scenario is that the talks collapse entirely, with both Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin refusing to make any concessions. This would result in no progress and a continuation of the current stalemate. Well, if this indeed happens, it would also hit any hopes for Trump's 50% tariff on India going down. This is because as long as Trump is unable to get Putin to back down in the Russia-Ukraine war, he will deploy all economic means to weaken Moscow. And unfortunately, that leaves India stuck in the middle. So in turn, another thing to watch out for would be whether India will change its stance on importing Russian oil, or will it play it diplomatically like it has for so long. Will the icy stalemate of Russia-Ukraine peace talks thaw out the ICE summit? Stay tuned for that.